Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel on knitting, miniatures and miniature knitting. I apologise if the camera moves a lot. Had a problem putting it onto the tripod this morning. I think the thread in the camera has gone. So I shall try my best. So today I thought I would do a little bit of Christmas miniature knitting. So I was having a look at the different projects that I've done in the past and to show you before deciding what to do. So here we have a little throw that goes nicely over a chair in Doll's House in the traditional red and green colours. What I like about this is on the back it's actually been knitted quite neatly. The threads are tied in nicely so it's not all of a mess at the back of it. So that's a little throw. And I also have, this here is one of my favourites. It's a little bit of Christmas tree bunting. Now, I don't actually know if I've got this pattern on Etsy or Ravelry yet, so I'll check that out. And if it is, I can put a link in the description for you. So here it is here. These are tiny little Christmas trees. I don't know how well you can see them, it's quite hard to control it just now, but when you've got them on a fireplace hanging down or on the wall, it does look really nice. There's actually 3 different shades of green there. You can see the light green easily, but these two here are quite similar colours, but one is slightly lighter than the other, or slightly darker than the other. I don't know, sometimes if I put it up too close to the camera lens, it doesn't focus very well, but it's so small that it's hard to see it if my hand's down here. So I'll pop on a picture from the garland on the mantelpiece in the Doll's House and you'll get a chance to see it better then. So this is one of my favourites, I really like this. And these here are Christmas tree decorations, and sometimes when I look at these I can't believe just how small they are. So we have a little loop here with our robin. I don't know if that helps putting it against my hand. You can see his little tail there at the back, his little beak, and his lovely red breast there at the front. So a little robin, and we have a Santa. So, oops, very delicate. And again, if you hear the footsteps in the background, that's Brody moving around. Okay, so here we have the Santa's face. Again, it's really hard to see, and I don't know if you'll go out of focus on the camera there for you, but there's his white beard, the white trim in the hat, his little pointy hat, and his gold bell at the back there. So just to show you the size of it on my fingertip, it's so tiny. And the last one I've done is a little Christmas pudding. You can put it on my fingertip and then pop it on here and see if it's any better for you to see. There we go. I knew that was going to happen after the last time. So we've got the brown pudding, we've got a little white topping on it, and some red and green embroidered holly on top of that there. So these are so incredibly tiny. Yeah, I'm still amazed that I knitted these. I was going to add to it each year, that was my plan, so I could have another set of decorations, but I'm afraid I just didn't have time to get around to it this year, so maybe for next year I can try and develop this pattern a wee bit more, add in a few extra decorations. Now I do have, if you've watched the other videos that I've produced, my sketches are very childlike maybe, just very rough, and this is it's on an old Filofax piece of paper, just something that I had to hand when I had the idea of making the decorations, and so I've scribbled on here. So there's a little angel You'll see her at the top of my miniature Christmas tree. The wreath is something I've still to do. That's a plan that I was hoping to do this year, but we'll put it on for next year. So we have a few more decorations here scribbled out. So I've got the little Santa one there that I've done, and don't see the robin on that one. I think I had a list of, underneath, a list of other ones that I wanted to do. There's the robin there, it says. And sometimes I just write some notes down at the side as well. So yeah, pretty rough, but it was good enough to give me the information that I needed to make it. There's the pudding there. So some of these other ones I can try and get done for next year. But what I would like to do today is this little Christmas stocking for hanging. It's actually not this particular one that I was going to do. I was going to do the one that accompanies this, but it basically uses the same pattern. So if I just show you, I'll put that to the side just now. In here, I've got some of my miniature knitting patterns that have been published in magazines. So this one here, let's see if I can zoom it a little bit. So you can see the green and white stocking there on the fireplace. It's a little red and white stocking I was going to do with you today, and I was just actually going to use this pattern from the magazine rather than looking at one on the computer, which is what I normally do. So this one was Doll's House World. I don't have an issue number, it doesn't tell you on the bottom of it. Sadly, the Doll's House World magazine isn't being printed now. They are doing online versions only, and it was one of the most beautiful magazines ever, so it was quite sad quite sad that they're not printing them out, but there we go, a sign of the times, I suppose. So this little red stocking here is what I was going to do with you today. So let's have a wee look. This is my travel bag, or my miniature knitting bag. Things that I need. So first of all, magnifying glasses. I just cannot do miniature knitting nowadays without it. If I'm using a size 18 needle, I can do a little bit, but definitely not size 22 needles. On the back, I keep my little knitting case, which I've shown you in another video. So I've got loads of needles in here for me to use. I've already looked out red thread, embroidery thread. What I've started to do is put on the name of the thread and the number, because it's very annoying if you're designing a pattern and you like to put down the actual details of it so that other people can get the exact same colour if they like it, and if you don't write it down on these little plastic bobbins, then it's a bit of a nightmare trying to find it out. So that's my kind of goal for this year, is to write out more of these, the number and the name on it. If it starts with GE, then I know it's a Trimmets one. The other ones are Anchor, or I think it's mostly Anchor. There are a couple of DMC ones I've got. So I don't write Trimmets on here because I know that it's a Trimmets one. So that's my red. Just while I've got my bag here, I'll show you what else I keep in here. I keep a little notebook. Again, a bit of scribbles. Sometimes it's little drawings, and sometimes it's just pattern details. I quite like it when I'm out somewhere in the car, going out to seaside or something, to take this along with me for a little bit of knitting in the car. Get really good light. There's a sunroof in the car, so I'll open up the sunroof to let the light in, and sunroof cover to let the light in, and you get the light from all the other windows. In here I keep some threads that I'm maybe working on for a project that needs a bit of a tidy out. There's loads of them in here, and I try and keep a little tiny bag of toy stuff, and you don't need much when you're doing miniature projects. Sometimes I keep a little doll in there as well, a baby doll, so I can use it for measuring while I'm out and about doing miniature knitting. So that's my bag. Here's my needle. So as I said, it's size 22 that I'm using, and pattern says work is for striped stocking using cherry, so this is a cherry. But instead of working 24 rows for the leg, just stocking stitch 14 rows. Right, so begin at toe and cast on 10 stitches. Now I'm going to do my best to show you this up close. I did have a little problem with the larger tripod. The camera just was falling off it, and I thought, right, okay, we'll go on to the little mini one that I've got here, but I had the same problem, so I've just got the camera balanced on it, so I'm going to try not to bump it. So let's get rid of that for just now, out of the way, and I'll just pop this little stocking here, a reminder of what we're making. So glasses on, and it's cast on 10 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Apologies for counting out loud, but if I don't, I can lose concentration and my head goes on to something else, so I tend to count out loud some of the time. First row is purl. So this pattern is available to buy on my Etsy shop, but you won't need it if you're just following this video. You could just follow the instructions here. So for the first row is a purl one. First row is always a little bit trickier. I think even in full size knitting, especially if you're working with cotton, it's a bit tricky. There we go. So if I can't get into the front of a stitch and to purl it, I would normally go in as if I'm going to knit it and then take my needle out. It just loosens it up a little bit and then put my needle in purl ways. To knit. Yep, that's correct. There we go. I think part of the problem the first row as well is that your needle tends to bounce all over the place as you're working. Sometimes I tuck it under a sleeve like that. Going back to the way the Shetland knitters knitted with a sheath on their belts so that they could hold in a needle while they were working. Okay, that didn't work very well for me, so I'll just continue this way. So hopefully you'll have some time to knit this for your doll's house before Christmas. I think it's always nice. It kind of increases the realism of your doll's house if you have something hand knitted in it. So this is just a plain one, but if your house has tiny inhabitants, you could do an initial for each person in your miniature household, and then of course you can hang them on your fireplace. Just getting a little bit tricky here, getting to the end. I'm almost there. I'm just trying to loosen this stitch up a little bit. And there we go. Come back out again. There we go. Right, so that's our purl row, and then we've got knit one front and back to end. So knit one, and then knit one front and back. So we go in the front, yarn round through, and then instead of pulling off the needle, we just slide it back into the loop and through the back of it. Yarn over, and that gives us 2 stitches there. So this is an increase row. So knit one front and back, knit one front and back, knit one front and back. Okay, so now we should have 15 stitches. The next row is purl. I hope you can see this all right, and I'm not going off camera here. As I say, I'm trying not to touch the tripod in case the camera falls. I don't know about getting a replacement little threads on it for spinning it round on your tripod to secure it. I don't know if that's available or not, whether I need to get a new camera. So something to look into. And almost there. There we go, that's our purl row, that's row 3. Then it says change to white. This is for the stripe, so I'm not doing the stripe, so I'm going to continue with the red. So it's knit 1 front and back, knit 2. So knit 1 front and back. One, 2. Stick it there. Knit 1 front and back, knit 2. So that should have been a knit 1 front back. So we'll just see if we can pick that loop up again. There we go. Knit 1 front and back. Knit 1, 2. Knit 1 front and back. Oops. 1, 2. Knit 1 front and back. And then the last one. Front and back. Knit 2. Okay. And so now we purl. So if you're new to miniature knitting, it does take a wee while to get into the flow of it, with your muscle memory and your fingers of where to hold your needles. I'm kind of leaning against my forefinger here on my left hand for extra support. And as it gets a little bit longer, it gets a bit easier because your thumb and your fingers start to hold the fabric of your knit. Almost there. Right, sorry for the scratching, it's just the base of the needle scratching against the table. So And that was the purl row, so stocking stitch 2 rows there. So I'll just get out my row counter here, set it to 0. So stocking stitch 2 rows, I'll just stick it on there as a wee reminder. And you see the needles are starting to go a little bit faster now that it's starting to grow, and you can get a grip of it better. So now my fingers and my thumb are holding it as I'm knitting. It's quite good to give your fingers a little bit of exercise in between just to keep them nice and flexible. So that's row 3, so I'm going to this bit here. Do, do. Now, our next row says change to white, which we won't be doing, but we stocking stitch 2 rows, increasing 1 stitch at each end of last row. Okay, so it's not row 7, it's row 8. Yep, this is the row that I have to increase for. I'm just going to do it like a knit one front and back, but I'm going to do it purlwise. So purl at the front and then split the thread a little bit there, purl into the back stitch. If it's a little bit tricky, you can just knit one front and back. It won't make that much difference to the design. There we go. Okay, so I hope that that's working now. Don't know what's happening today. The technology, if it's the technology or if it's me, I don't know. Right, so I'm trying to turn this around a little bit for you so it's a bit easier to see. Don't know, give me a wee second, I'll turn the camera around to the front here. Right, this is like one of these TV shows where everything falls apart and the presenter keeps on going. So my camera has fallen off the big tripod and the little tripod and can't do anything about it. So I am going to try my best to knit the rest of the pattern from here because I am determined that you're going to get this pattern. So this was this the increase row? Because I don't see an increase at the beginning. No. Is that, there's an increase at the end there. Oh, because I increased purlwise, that's what it is. So I don't think I've got an increase at the end there. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So now I have to take out some stitches. Perfect. Oh no, I don't. Because look, it's I'm knitting the purl side. Panic over. So I'll finish off this row. So I have to increase at the end of it. So try and get it into camera shot. So I'm just leaning the camera on top of my miniature knitting case just now, and at the back of it my little paper dispenser, little notepad. So I'll try and keep this in camera shot for you. It might be a blessing in disguise. It might be giving you a better view than what the tripod was giving you. Okay, so in, over, through, and then back in again to increase that. No. Come on, you can do it. No. Right, we will not give up. That's the challenges that we face. That's just part of life. Or has it? I think it's actually increased there. I think it did. Everything went haywire, but it actually did what I was hoping it would do. Right, let's have a little stitch count. I don't believe it. Right, okay, we will try filming just from the top of my case. If I turn my case round, it's a little bit narrower at the side than it was at the spine edge, and I shall try from here. Told you I'm not giving up. Right, let's have a count. It's probably going to be blurred now. Great. Right, 2, 4. Is that 2 stitches or 1? 1. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. Hooray! Something as simple as increasing. Right, work heel shaping as follows. Knit 9, turn. So, this is for to make our heel at the heel. So it was just a little bit sticky to get into the first stitch because it's an increased one. Okay, I've probably successfully put a lot of people off miniature knitting at the moment. Right, 1, 2, 3, 9, and turn. So we turn our work all the way around to the purl side, and we purl to the end of the row. Now you can do a wrap and turn when you're knitting this. If you've knitted socks before, you'll know what that is. It gives it a neater finish, but you don't actually have to do it. I'm keeping to simple knitting just now. There we go, managed to pick them back up again. One of the reasons why I like knitting, miniature knitting with cotton, is it's easier to pick up your drop stitches. It's just practically inevitable. You're going to have drop stitches, so you just need to kind of try your best to pick them up. Right, so next one is knit 7 turn. Oh, sorry about the banging of these needles. I should have put a piece of padded fabric on the desk. I would have solved that problem. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you leave these 2 here from before, you turn round and purl to end again. 1, oops, daisies. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and knit 5, purl to end, and then after that's knit 3, purl to end. So this one's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One, 3. Okay, and then after we've done that, we knit to the end of the row, right across the whole, all of the stitches on the row. Okay, and that's what our heel shaping's like at the first side. Here you can see it's wider at this bit and just flatter there. Right, I've lifted the camera up on top of another little notepad here to see if it keeps the needles in shot for you a little bit better. So our next row is purl 9 and then turn, and then purl 7, knit to end, then purl 7, turn, and then 5, and then 3, just like before. Except we're purling this time. So purl 7, turn, purl 9, sorry, turn. So you see these needles are quite flexible, so that does help when you're doing miniature knitting. Oops, it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and turn, and knit to end. So I've just wrapped the thread around my finger there just to give a little bit of extra support on the tension side of things. And turn, and this time purl 7. 1, 2, 2, and knit to the end. Purl 5. turn. To the end. Purl 3. And once you've knitted those 3, purl to end of row. So we're pulling across all of the stitches. Oops, daisies. Let's pick these up. 1, 2, and the last one, the thread has come out of, so we'll just put that back on the needle and purl that one again. There we go, no harm done. So the heel shaping really is the only tricky part of this pattern. It's pretty simple. Once you get to this stage, you can relax a bit and just do stocking stitch. Now, I think the pattern said stocking stitch 14 rows instead of the 24 for the tall or the longer stocking, but I'll double check it in a second. There we go. So, yes, stocking stitch 14 rows. Let's get the little row counter out again. Okay, I'm going to knit halfway across here and I'm going to fold it and show you what it looks like. You can see the stocking shape starting to emerge. Okay. So folding it in half, and you can see that it's turned for the heel, and we're about to work the leg of the stocking. And I don't know if it'll show you closely enough, but there's tiny little holes along there. If you did the wrap and turn technique that I suggested earlier, that would take that away. Or sometimes just knitting into the back of a stitch helps neaten it up. To me, it's barely visible, and I'm happy to have those little holes there. That doesn't bother me at all. Right, let's finish this off. So our 14 rows of stocking stitch, and then we garter stitch 6 rows in cream at the top to finish off the pattern. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the stocking stitch just now, and when it comes to the cream part, I will pop back on again. Okay, so this is my 14 rows of stocking stitch. I'll just move it backwards a little bit and see if you can see it better there. And I'm ready for the 6 rows of garter stitch. So I'm just going to trim this thread here so that I can use it for sewing. And I have just picked up a little bit of leftover white from another project. We only need 6 rows here, it won't take very long. In the background you can hear Brody playing with his ball. So don't worry if you hear his footsteps and some things bouncing about. Right, on to our 6 rows of garter stitch then. So you can see I haven't fixed my tripod problem yet. I have been looking on YouTube, and it seems like the threads going in the tripod mount, I believe it's called, is actually quite a common thing. And I could see from other websites, YouTube videos for other cameras, that a new thread mount could be, tripod mount could be purchased and it can be replaced. But when I looked up the one for the Nikon, which is the camera that I'm using, the price of them, the actual plate, was much more expensive than what the camera was. So I'm not too keen on trying that idea. It may be that I need to get a new camera, but we'll see. I'm still thinking about it. So that's the state of play just now. So I'm hoping this video still works out okay for you, despite all the things going wrong with it. And I'm hoping that you can see these stitches. So that's one row. I don't need to use my row counter for this, because it's much easier to count garter stitch than stocking stitch in miniature, because you're just counting the little row ridges in twos. So this is our second row here, and it's going quite well this time. When I get to the end of the row, I'll tie the red and the white threads together to make it a little bit more secure. So it's getting very close to Christmas. I was hoping to have this project finished for you and the video uploaded much earlier than the 23rd of December. But I mean, there's still time for you to make a little stocking. And I'll see if I can take it into my doll's house to hang up for you as well, next to my little Christmas tree. Just about finished this row. There we go. I'm just going to put that down just now. So if you're out of camera shot, I do apologise, but I'm just going to tie these two together. Okay, that's them tied, and that's my first two rows done. And I've got one ridge of white. Now I think I've forgotten to say that if you're interested in miniature knitting or other knitting projects, then please do subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified whenever I upload a video. But this is subscribing is the most important part. It doesn't cost anything. You may have to be may have to have a Google account to be able to log into YouTube and click on subscribe. I'm not 100% sure about that. It's still quite new to me. But please do feel free to subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified, and even sharing videos is useful as well. Share it with other miniaturists or other knitters. Like I say, I've got a lot of ideas still to come. Okay, I'm on my fourth row just now. Brody seems to have settled down. He's probably gone into his bed where it's a wee bit cosier. Just checking my camera screen there to see if you're actually in shot, and seems to be. And that's us done her 6 rows. It's a little bit tricky for you to see there, but there's 3 ridges, 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to cast off. Now, if you like knitting for 1/6 scale, more like Barbie dolls and other brands obviously, then you can follow the same pattern. I would just advise you switching over to size 18 knitting needles and either a 1-ply yarn or maybe 2 of these embroidery threads held together. That will certainly make it a bit bigger for you for using for your larger scale dolls or dolls' houses. You wouldn't need to change anything else other than the size of your needles and the size of your yarn, thickness of your yarn. Almost finished. Oops, it is. Not want something that you want to have happen in your bind off row or your cast off row to drop your stitches, but I think it's made it back on. Okay, nice loop. Trim the thread, always leaving quite a good length, even if it's a small miniature. Leave quite a good length for sewing up. It's much easier. Right, so making up this stocking. First of all, if I fold it in half, you'll see the kind of stocking shape, roughly. Again, try putting it behind my hand to see if it's any better for you. Sometimes the closer I put it, the camera goes out of focus. But hopefully that'll be not too bad. Right, I'm going to start at the toe. And I'm going to use the threads that are here for sewing rather than adding a new thread and making a knot. Knots tend to be really bulky in miniature. Okay, so let's fold over. I'm just going to join it together where the heel shaping is, and then hold that with my finger and thumb, and then hold it up to the toe. Keeps that in place. So I'm going to join the start of the cast on stitches to the end, and then I'm going to insert my needle into a few stitches around it to gather around the toe. 2, 3, pull it up tightly, and that should close the toe over. Alright, so just check that these are lined up here as well, the leg and the heel shaping, and then down to the foot. So let's get this foot sewn up. It's going to over sew, and then we'll turn it the correct way round afterwards. There we go. And get to the top, just going to go back down the leg a little bit to secure its tail end in. Okay, and trim that. I have a little mini bin here that I keep on my desk for all these little bits and pieces. It's from IKEA. It came with a little brush and shovel set, which is just a nice size for tidying up your desk if it's needing a little dust. Okay, so now I think I'll use the white that I used when I was changing colour to sew up the garter stitch top, because the top, the cast off, the tail end from the cast off, I'd like to use that for making the loop to hang the stocking. And last bit. And again, we'll just go back down here to secure it. Right, and this time, because it's just a small area there, a small size, I'm just going to go under a few of these little stitches along the row at the back. Oh, see, my thread's a little bit too short. What I was saying a little while ago is try and cut a good length so that it's easier to sew. This is quite a long needle, right enough, but it's one of my favourites. So hundreds of needles, but that's the one I always stick to. Right, in the bin. Okay, and with the red thread, again I'm going to tuck it under the stitches at the back here to tie it in so that the seam doesn't get too bulky. So we'll just go under here. Oops, it's kind of catching a few stitches there instead of one along the row. 1, 2, 3, 4 should be enough. And trim. Okay, almost finished. Into the little bin there. And this is our thread from our cast off. And we want to tie that in, but leaving a loop at the same time. Oops, a daisies, just popped back out of my needle there. Right, thread in. And go as if I'm sewing it. And pull it through, leaving a little loop, a little hanging loop. Not too large, but not too small either. And sew it on there. And I think I'll just go back up and just put a wee knot along the bottom of it, just to neaten up the loop a little bit. Go round it. Put the needle through. Try that again. Go around and pop it through there. Pull it up, making sure it goes at the bottom of the loop that I've got. Now pull it tightly. And then just sew under a couple of stitches to tie in that loose end. Make sure I can still see my little loop. I think it's the one that's in the inside here. There we go. Okay, I'm happy with that. So needle down, trim. And here's the stocking when it's the wrong way out, wrong way round. And I'm just going to turn it now. So open up the top and kind of push the fabric through. Sometimes when it's as small as this, it's a little bit tricky. If it is too difficult for you when you're making it, then just sew the seam on the outside. This makes it a little bit neater if you can manage to turn it round. So I'm just going round it and pulling out a little bit of the knitted fabric all the way round. Looks like we're about halfway through here. There we go. And then I'm just going to try and ease it into shape. There we go. So this is our little finished stocking. Let's see if I can hold it with a look like that so you can see it better. Ready to be filled on the mantelpiece or the end of the bed. Okay, so I'll stop the video just now and I'll go and see if we can get it in the dog's house for you. Thank you very much for joining in today's video. I hope you have a lovely little stocking at the end of it, and I wish you and your family, if you celebrate Christmas, the merriest Christmas of all. Bye for now. Bye.